Good to be with you tonight from Hartford, Connecticut, as we go live from America. I'm Tony DeCopel. The breaking news right now. No hope of survivors. 9 people still missing after that catastrophic tank failure at a packaging plant in Washington State. What went wrong? Also tonight, 5 of those 7 gold miners trapped in a flooded cave in Laos found alive. We'll take you inside the cave as the search goes on for the 2 still missing.
How do you feel about your health insurance?
Our series, Affordability in America. Tonight, our reporting takes us to the insurance capital of the world. Why are costs rising and so rapidly? Plus, what you can do to fight back. And the CBS News exclusive: new evidence and a possible break in the case of that missing Michigan woman in the Bahamas. What U.S. officials are saying tonight about a new search team.
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke.
And another CBS News exclusive tonight: former First Lady Jill Biden opening up for the first time on what she thought was happening during her husband's infamous debate moment. The sea lion surprise in the middle of a boat race. What happens next? And finally, the good stuff, the secret to spelling bee success. COACH.
This is the CBS Evening News with Tony DeCopel, reporting tonight from Hartford, Connecticut.
And good evening from what has long been known as the insurance capital of the world. And in just a moment, our report on the modern reality of medical insurance today, the rising costs and the solutions as well. But first, we have that breaking news from Washington State, what is now thought to be the deadliest industrial tragedy in that state's modern history. At least 2 dead at the moment, with 9 additional workers missing and presumed dead at this hour after a chemical tank disaster at a paper mill there. Our Jonathan Vigliotti has late details.
Officials are still trying to recover 9 bodies after a massive tank at the Nippon Dynawave packaging plant ruptured, spewing corrosive chemicals. The search was paused overnight due to safety concerns as crews feared the damaged tank could collapse again.
The priority is ensuring responder safety while treating every victim with the greatest dignity, care, and respect as possible.
The accident happened Tuesday morning when that tank, carrying nearly 900,000 gallons of a caustic mixture known as white liquor, suddenly burst. Crystal Moldenhauer was close with several of the victims.
It's hit hard in our community. There's a family that had 2 people that are unaccounted for. We have the grief. We are wondering why this happened.
2 of the victims, Dylan Miller, who leaves behind his fiancée and their 3 kids, and Gilbert Bernal, an electrician who is described as hardworking and a loving grandfather. Tonight, grief and a search for answers.
I want to know why these families have lost these loved ones. What could have been done? What do we need to investigate? Like, what safety inspections have been done?
A team of federal investigators will arrive on site tomorrow, and tonight a growing health concern. Officials say an unknown amount of that toxic chemical drained into the nearby Columbia River, Tony.
Yet another worry. Jonathan, thank you very much. Just days ago, President Trump said a peace deal with Iran had largely been negotiated, but no deal has since been announced. And the president is now warning that even with control of Congress on the line in November, he's going to wait out Tehran. As he put it today, quote, "I don't care about the midterms." Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes following it all for us tonight.
I didn't do this to get a crummy agreement.
With the war in its 13th week and the vital Strait of Hormuz still closed, President Trump's optimism about a potential agreement seemed to waver today.
We can make a good deal right now, but maybe not a great deal. And if it's not a great deal, we're not making it.
Contrary to widespread reports, Trump insisted the draft agreement being discussed would not waive sanctions on Iran or unfreeze its assets.
When they behave properly and when they do what's right, we'll let them have their money.
And he had this startling warning for U.S. ally Oman after an Iranian TV report claimed that Oman and Iran would jointly manage the Strait of Hormuz once it reopens.
Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up. They understand that. They'll be fine.
As for the high gas prices caused by the squeeze in the strait, Trump told CBS News earlier this month he wanted to pause the federal gas tax to bring prices down 18 cents a gallon. Today, he wasn't so sure.
It's something we might talk about. Let's see what happens over the next week, 2 weeks. A lot of good things are happening.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who was sitting next to the president, said there has been some progress in negotiations, but he too was unwilling to predict diplomatic success. And in fact, he warned Tony that a return to hostilities is still possible.
Yeah, we've heard that before. Nancy, thank you very much. We also want to tell you about the fight against Ebola tonight. The Trump administration today, in a shift of U.S. policy, announced plans to set up a quarantine and treatment center in Kenya for Americans exposed to the deadly virus while they're overseas. In past outbreaks, patients were medevaced back here to the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio now saying no Ebola patients will be allowed into the U.S. Here's senior national correspondent Mark Strassman.
Starting today, Houston Bush International became one of 3 U.S. airports playing defense against Ebola. All Americans returning from 3 African countries will undergo mandatory enhanced screening. This Houston airport expects to average up to 50 screened passengers a day.
We cannot and will not allow any cases of Ebola to enter the United States.
In another sign of the growing African crisis, Uganda today closed its border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. The WHO has declared the deadly outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. For now, there is no vaccine.
Africa said this is part of the team that is working on the vaccine.
The Trump administration plans to set up a quarantine facility for Americans in Kenya. A former CDC official CBS News talked to called that move unethical and irresponsible because Kenya doesn't have the proper containment facility or much experience dealing with Ebola. One affected American missionary, Dr. Peter Stafford, has responded well in a Berlin hospital to antiviral and supportive treatments. 6 other Americans have been transported to Germany and the Czech Republic for monitoring.
Atlanta's airport and Washington Dulles also have this enhanced screening. New York's JFK will ramp up tomorrow midnight. And on everyone's radar with all this, international soccer teams and their fans are about to pour into the U.S. for the World Cup, now 2 weeks away. Tony?
Mark Strassman on a big story for us tonight. Mark, thank you very much. We turn now to a final chapter today in the criminal investigation into the death of actor Matthew Perry. The 54-year-old Friends star drowned in his hot tub back in 2023 under the effects of ketamine. His longtime personal assistant, the person who gave him that fatal injection, pleaded guilty to conspiracy, and a judge today sentencing him to more than 3 years in prison. He was the 5th and final person sentenced in connection with Perry's death. Turning overseas now to Southeast Asia and the gold miners trapped inside that flooded cave in Laos. 5 of them have now been found alive after being cut off for more than a week. The question now, how to get them out as the search continues for those still missing. Chief correspondent Matt Gutman spoke to the lead diver on the mission from inside that cave.
In that cave flooded with water and drained of hope in recent days, today the spark of discovery, bringing tears and joy. Divers finally locating 5 of the 7 missing artisanal miners from a nearby village. They were perched there on that narrow stone shelf in an oxygen-starved chamber. The men had become trapped in this cave in central Laos for the past 8 days after monsoon rains flooded the entrance and many of the passages. The man you see here is Miko Pasi, the lead rescuer.
What do they say?
They bring good spirits and good, very healthy, so that helps the extraction for sure.
We spoke with him right after the discovery while he was still inside a chamber in the cave where rescuers had rigged up Wi-Fi.
So I'm getting ready for another dive to bring some food for the guys and supplies so they can survive until we figure out how to bring them out.
Okay, so that's the plan, is to bring them food and just keep them alive for now until you can figure it out.
Yep, and then it's all mystery still how, but we got some ideas.
And outside the cave, rapture. Members of the search team cheering and hugging. And late today, Posse and his team plunged back into the murk in search of the other 2 miners.
Do you have any idea where the other 2 are?
Not yet. We need to concentrate on the 5 first.
In those spaces, they've been feeling their way by fingertips, squeezing into passages entombed in jagged rock. In some places, they had to shimmy in and drag their scuba tanks after them, struggling for breath.
Now, the rescue team tells me that ideally they would be able to get enough food and water to the miners to build their strength as they pump water out of the cave. But that sets a race against the clock. Could there be another tunnel collapse? Could more monsoon weather roll in? Or do those miners have enough oxygen in that tiny chamber to breathe? Tony.
So many variables tonight. Matt Gutman on the story once again. Matt, thank you very much. With the midterm elections a little more than 5 months away now, there was a closely watched primary yesterday in the great state of Texas. The state's Attorney General, Ken Paxton, ousted four-term Senator John Cornyn, making him the third Republican incumbent to lose this month after failing to earn President Trump's endorsement. Our Ed O'Keefe spoke with Paxton's Democratic opponent.
We just sent a Texas-sized message to Washington.
And now comes a Texas-sized bare-knuckled race for the Senate. Ken Paxton ignited the MAGA base and rode President Trump's endorsement to victory. But many Republicans fear his indiscretions could cost them in November.
Do not take this general election for granted.
As state attorney general, Paxton was impeached 3 years ago and later acquitted, arrested for investment fraud in 2015, and accused of adultery by his wife last year.
We're living in an era of corruption.
Corruption is a big focus of Paxton's opponent, the 37-year-old Democrat, James Tallarico.
The real fight in this country is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom. We're all getting screwed. None of us can afford anything.
Tallarico is a seminarian who calls himself a Christian progressive. But Republicans call him a radical for comments like this when discussing transgender rights.
God is non-binary. I think I was being intentionally provocative with that statement.
Do you regret describing it that way or talking about God that way?
There are some statements that I've made that I certainly regret. But Ken Paxton is intentionally clipping my cringy comments to distract from his career of corruption.
Paxton has declined multiple CBS News requests for an interview. This race is expected to shatter spending records. President Trump today said he's keeping close tabs and plans to come campaign here for Paxton. Tony?
And Ed, I'm sure you'll be back as well. Thank you very much. I was back in the 1800s when Hartford, Connecticut picked up that nickname, the insurance capital of the world, as insurers here gained a reputation for reliably paying out claims. Well, now, with several large insurance companies still based here and polls showing that rising health care costs are at the top of many people's lists of concerns, we figured no better spot to find out why those costs are rising and what you can do about it in our series, Affordability in America. How do you feel about your health insurance?
I hate it.
You hate it? Okay. On any street in America.
I'm on a plan that I pay a lot of money for, and it covers very little.
Even here on Pratt Street in insurance-loving Hartford.
I mean, I think it's kind of a scam.
It's easy to find complaints about health insurance.
I have a friend who's actually having a procedure done today, and the insurance denied her medication.
Or lack thereof.
You don't have health insurance.
No. So tell me why.
Because it's too expensive.
Family plan premiums have jumped more than 50% over the past decade, faster than wages and inflation. How much of your job is hearing complaints about cost?
Oh, everything.
As Connecticut's healthcare advocate, Kathy Holt says almost every story she hears is a sad one.
People call more and more frequently and say, I don't have any control over this. I might as well just die. Nobody is going to help me.
Gallup this year found more than 60% of Americans worry a great deal about the availability and affordability of health care, topping all other domestic concerns, including the economy. Who's the reason that cost is so big?
It's the providers. It's the insurance companies. There's a lot of profit takers out of health care.
But there's more, she says, that lawmakers can do right now to help.
Legislators can help people to reduce medical debt. They can increase prevention of illnesses, and they can help more people get health insurance.
A bigger overhaul of the system, of course, is part of a much bigger conversation. But Holt says there are positives here as well. Some of those higher costs really are tied to better care and longer, healthier lives, just not all of it. Still ahead on the broadcast tonight, a CBS News exclusive, new evidence in the case of the Michigan mom who disappeared in the Bahamas, raising questions about her husband's whereabouts the night she went missing. New questions tonight about whether Brian Hooker was truthful with investigators about what happened to his wife Lynette when she disappeared in the Bahamas last month. CBS News has exclusive reporting that U.S. investigators hope to begin a new dive search based on recently obtained forensic evidence. Our Christian Benavides once again with the update.
CBS News has learned new forensic evidence appears to contradict Brian Hooker's account of where he says he was the night his wife Lynette went missing in the Bahamas. Brian Hooker told Bahamian police Lynette fell out of their dinghy and was swept out to sea the evening of April 4th, and he was lost at sea for several hours. But according to a source familiar with the investigation, GPS data extracted from at least one device retrieved by law enforcement identified previously unsearched areas where Brian Hooker may have been that night and where divers should now look for additional evidence, including potentially Lynette's body. The U.S. Coast Guard has asked Bahamian authorities for permission to return and conduct the search. Former prosecutor Dave Ehrenberg.
So I think the key is going to be the forensic evidence and other details that are found on that boat.
Daniel Danforth is friends with the Hookers.
Do you have a message for Brian?
Yes. The only thing that's going to set you free, Brian, is the truth. Find enough inside of your heart to come out and tell the truth. We all deserve it.
Brian Hooker has not been charged with a crime and denies any wrongdoing.
You want to keep looking for Lynette. I'm going to need somebody with more authority to tell me to stop.
CBS News has learned that other evidence is currently being analyzed at an FBI lab in Quantico. Meantime, Lynette Hooker's family members have been asked for their DNA in order to assist in the investigation. We reached out to Brian Hooker's Michigan-based attorney multiple times, and she has refused to answer our calls. Tony?
Christian Benavides on it once again for us tonight. Christian, thank you very much. Up next, new details on why 41-year-old Kyle Busch died of pneumonia, what his death certificate reveals. We may know more tonight about what killed NASCAR champion Kyle Busch last week at just 41 years old. Us Weekly says it has Busch's death certificate, which notes pneumonia, as the family announced, then goes on to detail more of those rapid complications, a, quote, chain of events, including sepsis, blood clots, shock, and severe blood loss. For the first time, former First Lady Jill Biden is saying what was going through her head as she watched her husband's disastrous performance in that 2024 presidential debate.
As I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
Joe Biden, then President Joe Biden, dropped out of the race just 3 weeks later. You can see Joe Biden's full interview with CBS Sunday Morning's Rita Braver coming up this Sunday. A 6-woman canoe team was racing in Monterey Bay, California over the weekend when a 7th passenger hopped on board. A sea lion jumping onto the boat, wiggling around a bit until finding no seat available, it jumped off again. The woman in the bow there barely missed a stroke, but did crack a smile. The photographer later said they all did. Keep it up. Up next, the good stuff, what it takes to win the National Spelling Bee. We're back with the good stuff. That time of year has come again. The 98th Scripps National Spelling Bee. The finals are tomorrow night.
That is correct.
It's a century-old competition with the best young spellers in the English language.
T-K Decimo Sextum. Thank you.
But how do they get there?
Semaphile. That is correct.
Hard work and talent, yes, of course, but also coaching. And no coach has had greater success than this one. Scott Remmer, a former speller himself, he finished 4th back in 2008 and has since put everything he's learned into others. 5 champions overall, his first in 2010, his latest Dev Shah in 2023, and Faizan Zaki just last year. Not to mention almost half the remaining competitors this year. And all for a going rate of $180 an hour.
It's not really about the money. It's a passion for me. I think that it's really wonderful to help my students achieve their full potential and achieve their dreams.
And you can see it. You can see it on the kids' faces, that enthusiasm for learning, that love of learning. It's why they work so hard, why they study so many long hours. That's the one thing you can't coach, the motivation, and it's infectious. It's why so many of us love to watch. That's Another Day in America. I'm Tony DeCopa. We'll be back at the CBS Broadcast Center in New York tomorrow night. Good night for now.